Welcome to the 171st episode of the Bovine Podcast. Today we're diving deep into a crucial topic for dairy farmers, the balancing act between controlled and high-energy diets for transition cows. This episode will uncover strategies to revolutionize your herd's health and productivity, potentially boosting your farm's bottom line. From reducing metabolic disorders to optimizing milk production, we'll explore game-changing approaches used by top dairy farmers. Get ready for an informative journey that could transform your herd management practices.
Welcome to the Bovine Podcast, where we bring you the latest insights and strategies in dairy farming. I'm Bella, and with me is Douglas. Today we're diving into a hot topic that's been causing quite a stir in barns across the country. Douglas, what's on the menu for our listeners?
Well, Bella, today we're chewing the cud over controlled versus high-energy diets for transition cows. It's a subject that could revolutionize herd health and put more milk in the tank and more money in farmers' pockets.
Sounds like a real game changer. Let's milk this topic for all it's worth. Douglas, can you set the scene for our listeners?
Picture this, Bella. It's 3 a.m. and you're in the barn, watching over your freshly calved cows like a hawk. You're hoping everything goes smoothly, but in the back of your mind, you're worried about ketosis, displaced abomasums, and all the other gremlins that can pop up during transition. But what if I told you the secret to easier calvings and healthier fresh cows might be hiding in your dry cow rations?
That's quite the visual, Douglas. I'm sure many of our listeners can relate to those late-night barn checks. So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is this transition period we're talking about?
Great question, Bella. The transition period is like cow puberty. It's a roller coaster of changes. We're looking at about 3 weeks before calving and 3 weeks after. During this time, cows are nurturing their calves, gearing up for calving, and prepping their bodies for milk production. It's a lot of change in a short time, which is why they're so vulnerable to metabolic issues.
Wow, that does sound intense. So how do these different diets come into play during this critical time?
Well, we've got two main approaches: controlled energy diets and higher energy diets. Let's start with the controlled energy diet. I like to call this the Goldilocks approach. It's all about getting the energy levels just right. Not too much, not too little.
Goldilocks, huh? I like that. So how does this just right diet work?
We typically use high-fiber, low-energy ingredients like straw to dilute the energy density of the diet. It's like putting your cows on a sensible diet rather than letting them hit the all-you-can-eat buffet. The goal is to prevent cows from overeating and gaining too much condition before calving.
That makes sense. What are some of the benefits of this approach?
Well, we're looking at a lower risk of fatty liver disease, improved insulin sensitivity, better dry matter intake after calving, and potentially fewer metabolic disorders. It's like giving your cows a head start on staying healthy.
That sounds promising, but I know some farmers swear by the traditional higher energy diets. What's the story there?
Yes, the steaming up approach. This is what many of us were taught back in the day. The idea is to increase dietary energy before calving to prepare cows for the demands of lactation. These diets are more energy dense, often with higher grain or corn silage levels.
And what are the potential benefits of this approach?
Well, it may help cows maintain body condition if they're underconditioned, and it could support higher milk production in early lactation. But, and this is a big but, it also comes with some risks.
Risks? What kind of risks are we talking about?
One of the big ones is liver inflammation. It's like a stealth enemy in your cornfield. You can't always see it, but it can cause a lot of damage. With higher energy diets, cows are more likely to mobilize excessive body fat, which can lead to liver inflammation. This inflammation can interfere with the liver's ability to process nutrients effectively.
That doesn't sound good. How does the controlled energy diet stack up in terms of liver health?
Generally, controlled energy diets result in less liver inflammation because cows are less likely to mobilize excessive body fat. It's like giving your cow's livers a bit of a break.
Interesting. Now, I've heard a lot about the importance of rumen health. How do these diets affect the rumen?
Great point, Bella. A healthy rumen is like a well-oiled machine. It keeps everything running smoothly. Controlled energy diets often include more forage, which is great for rumen health. The higher fiber content promotes chewing and saliva production, naturally buffering the rumen.
And what about higher energy diets?
Higher energy diets may lead to more rapid fermentation and lower rumen pH. This could increase the risk of subacute ruminal acidosis, SARA, after calving. It's like giving your cow's rumens a bit of indigestion.
Ouch. So Douglas, what's the bottom line here? How do these diets affect postpartum performance?
Well, Bella, the proof is in the milk pail, as they say. Controlled energy diets often result in better dry matter intake after calving. They may lead to lower peak milk but better persistency, and they're typically associated with fewer metabolic disorders.
And higher energy diets?
They might support higher peak milk production, but they could also increase the risk of metabolic issues, potentially offsetting those production gains. It's a bit of a high-risk, high-reward situation.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider. Is there a one-size-fits-all solution here?
Not at all, Bella. What works on one farm might not work on another. Choosing an approach is like choosing a tractor. You need to evaluate your specific needs and circumstances. Factors to consider include your herd's genetics, your management style, available feed resources, and housing facilities.
So how can our listeners take all this information and apply it on their farms?
Great question. Here are some practical tips. 1. Know your herd. Record body condition scores, metabolic disorders, and milk production to gauge whether your current approach is working. 2. Analyze your feeds. Regular feed testing is crucial. You can't formulate a controlled energy diet if you don't know what you're working with. 3. Work with your nutritionist. They can help you formulate diets that meet your cow's needs without overfeeding energy. 4. Monitor dry matter intake. It's key to monitor intake whether you're using controlled or higher energy diets. 5. Consider using a 2-group dry cow system. This allows you to tailor diets more precisely to cows' changing needs as they approach calving. 6. Pay attention to particle size, especially if using straw and controlled energy diets. Cows are clever. They'll sort out the good stuff if you let them. 7. Don't forget about minerals and vitamins. Regardless of energy level, ensure your transition diets are appropriately balanced for all nutrients.
Those are some great tips, Douglas. Before we wrap up, are there any common myths about transition cow feeding that we should address?
Absolutely, Bella. Let's bust a few myths. 1. Myth: steaming up cows is always necessary. Reality: many cows do just fine or even better on controlled energy diets. It's not one size fits all. 2. Myth: controlled energy diets will tank my milk production. Reality: while peak milk might be slightly lower, overall lactation yield and cow health often improve. 3. Myth: adding straw to the diet is just filler. Reality: when used correctly, straw is a valuable tool for controlling energy intake and promoting rumen health. 4. Myth: higher energy diets are always bad. Reality: they can be appropriate in some situations, like for underconditioned cows or in specific management systems. 5. Myth: controlled energy diets are too complicated to implement. Reality: with proper guidance and management, many farms successfully use this approach.
Thanks for clearing those up, Douglas. As we come to the end of our discussion, what's the take-home message for our listeners?
The evidence is clear, Bella. For many herds, controlled energy diets offer significant advantages in improving transition cow health and overall productivity. But remember, it's not a magic bullet. Success depends on careful implementation and management.
So what should our listeners do next?
Here are some steps to consider. 1. Evaluate your current transition cow program. Are you seeing the results you want? 2. Talk to your veterinarian and nutritionist about the potential benefits of controlled energy diets for your herd. 3. If you decide to make changes, do so gradually and monitor your cows closely. 4. Keep learning. Attend workshops, read articles, and stay up to date on the latest research in transition cow nutrition.
Excellent advice, Douglas. Well, folks, that's all we have time for today. Remember, a smooth transition is key to maximizing lactation yields. By fine-tuning our dry cow nutrition plans, we can ensure the health of our cows and the profitability of our farms.
That's right, Bella. And to our listeners, are you ready to fine-tune your cow's energy management? We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Share them in the comments section of this podcast. Remember, our collective wisdom is what helps us all move forward.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bovine Podcast. I'm Bella, along with Douglas, reminding you to keep those udders under control.
That's all for today's vital episode on transition cow nutrition. We've explored the pros and cons of controlled versus high-energy diets, delving into their impacts on liver health, rumen function, and postpartum performance. Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all solution, so consider your herd's unique needs when implementing these strategies. Until next time, keep those cows healthy and those milk pails full.